What you want to do is jack it up and support it properly. Remove your front tires or front tire. And what you want to do is you want to remove the caliper and the caliper bracket. And if you're going to do a hub bearing, you want to do is take off the tie rod end. That's a 21. And then you smack the knuckle right there and it releases, breaks the taper, so then the tie rod end comes off. So that way, this allows you to go in and out freely, so you can take off your caliper and your caliper bolts and your bracket and also your hub bearing bolts, okay? So what you want to do is you want to remove your caliper bolts. There's one here and one there. Here's your caliper bolts, a 13mm head, and you remove them. If the caliper pin slides, you put some needle nose vice grips on them and hold it, and it'll allow you to remove your bolts. Once you got those removed, you get a decent sized screwdriver and you can pry off your caliper. Once you got the caliper pried off, set it aside. We'll get to that in a minute. And then you need to remove the bracket. And those will have two 18mm bolts. Remove those. Okay, caliper bracket bolts. You got those removed. Now you can pry off your caliper bracket. Okay? Next you want to do is remove your rotor. If the rotor is bonded to the hub, it's frozen on there, put a lug nut on here, spray some penetrant around it, and if you're replacing the rotor, you can smack it around here on the outside with a sledgehammer, a medium sledge, or you can hit it in between the studs. Try not to hit the studs, but most of the time I get away with hitting around on the rotor. Okay? This one's free, so I can just remove it. Okay, the rotor is off. So now, here we are. Now you're going to put brakes on the front. You need to clean up the surface on the hub, because you want to remove all the rust and whatever's on there. And then once it's cleaned up, then you can put some anti-seize on it to help prevent it from rusting. And this one's been done before, so it looks pretty decent because of the anti-seize. So now you just do is clean it up, remove the anti-seize, and inspect it. And if it looks good, then you can put some more anti-seize on it and put your new rotor on. The reason why you don't want any rust deposits or anything behind here, because it's going to cause it to stick out, and if it sticks out enough, it'll cause that rotor to vibrate like that and it'll give you a pulsation. Okay? Alright, now we're going to replace the hub bearing. So this one's got a electric connector, comes up around. What you want to do is you want to follow that wire harness from the hub bearing around, and then find out where it plugs together at. You want to unplug it and disconnect your wire around. From here. These are just on there with those plastic clips. You need a little screwdriver to pry a little clip out. And on this one, you can just push the little tabs in with your needle nose pliers. All right. This is a little connector, the little hook. You just gotta bend it away. And on that one, it's got a little hook that you gotta stick a screwdriver in there and bend that little tab and then pry this down. That's a hook. See how it would hook in there, and you gotta bend that little piece. And then you got one back there, another little piece that you gotta lift up on it. Separate it. The reason why I don't pull the connectors off, because the holes, they get rusted up and they don't want to come out, so they'll end up breaking, and the holes are rusted up and they swell up and you won't be able to push the new ones in. So I try to save these, okay? And then on this harness connector here, it pushes into the hole, which swells up and damages that when you try pulling it out. So on this one, you need to do is you need to push it in a tab and pull it apart. Which is right here. Push down on it, and it'll lift a little thing inside there, and you can pull it apart. All right, on this hub bearing, you got 3 bolts. They're 18 millimeters. You remove them, and then the hub bearing comes off. Most of the time, the hub bearings are on there and bonded on there pretty darn good, and you can't get them off, and you have to hit them with a hammer. You hit them right here, boom. Because you got a nice opening there, you hit them with a sledge. And just keep turning the thing around, boom. And once you get it started, and you keep on moving it. And make sure you keep hitting it with penetrant. Make sure you keep spraying it with penetrant around it to get it off. This one's been replaced before. It's got anti-seize behind it, so it's coming apart. If yours, even if you're hitting it really hard and it's still not coming apart, then you'll have to wedge a chisel in there. Get a nice, decent chisel with a nice point on it. Hit it in there and get it started. And keep soaking it with penetrant. Do it from up here and down here. Once you get it started to move, and then you can hit it again with your sledge and try to wedge in that chisel in there to force that baby apart, okay? Once you know you start seeing it move, then you know you got it. All right, so this one's coming apart real easy, and that's what it looks like. And this is just a 2-wheel drive, so it doesn't have the axle shaft coming in there, and you have to remove the nut. So this is just a 2-wheel drive. All right, so you want to clean this surface up of rust, get it shiny, make sure it's nice and smooth. Try not to remove any metal, but just remove the rust. And once you get it all cleaned up, you can put some anti-seize on it. And on the same thing on your shield, your dust shield, remove the rust that's on it, clean it up, get it nice and shiny, inside and out. And then when you're going back together, put your new hub bearing, put some anti-seize on here, feed your wires through properly the same way. And put some anti-seize on here and on that surface. All right, I got it cleaned up best I can get it. Okay, so put some anti-seize on it. Okay, it's all set to go. Make sure the little tips are facing towards the hub bearing, and you can stick it in there and start your bolts. Put the hub shield and backing shield like that. The wire harness comes through the back side of it like that. Now you can start all your bolts and snug them up. Okay, your hub bearing is mounted. Now you do is torque the bolts to 120 foot-pounds. Install your wire harness. Make sure it's in all your clips. And if your fastener to the frame is broken, just zip tie it to the brake line. And then now you're ready for your brakes. Put your brakes back on. If you're using your old brakes and you're just replacing this hub, then you gotta make sure that inside your rotor is clean. Clean that surface up in there and make sure it's nice and shiny. And then you can put some anti-seize on here, and you can put your rotor on there, and then you can reassemble your brakes. Okay, we're ready for the rotor. Put a little bit of anti-seize on there, and then you can put your rotor on. Before you put your rotor on, make sure you clean it with some soap and water, or some Windex, or some degreaser. Do not use brake clean. Brake clean damages the pads. Okay, now you need to clean up your caliper brackets. See that rusty area? You need to get that all cleaned up. That's where the abundant clip hardware goes. And also, make sure your slide pins are free. Take them out, clean them, and put some new Sil Glide on them. Okay, clean them up. And then put some paint on them. And also clean up your slide pins, take them out, clean them up, buff them up, wire wheel, put some Sil Glide on them. Do not fill the tube up inside there where the pin goes with Sil Glide, because then you won't be able to compress them. Just wipe the sides of the pins with the Silk Glide and then push them in and twist them as you go. Okay, the caliper brackets are painted. I'm gonna wait for it to dry and then I'll put my hardware in there. Okay, button clip hardware is in there. Now we need to mount our brackets and snug our bolts up and then torque them. Torque them to, I think they're 85 foot-pounds. All right, next you want to do is push your pistons in. What you do is you get a C-clamp and you get one of your old pads, put the pad in there, and you use your C-clamp and you tighten it up to push the pistons in. Make sure the line is not pinched or anything. That will restrict the flow of the fluid back into the system and then make the pushing of the pistons harder. Okay, so once you got them back in, then you can put your pads in there and put your calipers on. Okay, inner and outer pads are the same. If they got squeakers on them, put them on the side of the direction of the rotation of the rotor. You just put them on there and make sure they're inside, both of them, and push them on and get them in there like that, and then push it like that. And push on your rotor, make sure it's centered in there, and squeeze it tight, and then put your rotor or your caliper over them, and make sure you got to push in on your pins so you can get the tabs over them. All right, your caliper's on. Snug your bolts up for your calipers. Now you want to torque them to 35 foot-pounds. Make sure that your rotor is in there properly, and then that's it. If you disconnect your tie rod end, you need to hook that back up. Remember, it's a taper fit, so make sure you tighten it up. All right, so that completes your brake job, and that will complete your hub bearing, depending upon which one you're doing, or both. All right, so now you need to do is put your tire on and tighten your lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds. Lower the vehicle to the ground. Go inside the vehicle. Start it up. Push the pedal to the floor a couple times. Make sure you got a good firm pedal. And then go underneath the hood. Wipe off your master cylinder cap. And look inside there and top off the fluid if it needs to be topped off. Put the cap back on. And then you are set. The reason why you want to go inside and pump the pedal is because you don't want to be pumping the pedal as you're driving out the door. Cause an accident, damage your vehicle. So make sure you got a good firm pedal before you put it in drive or reverse. And that completes your brake job. And if I helped you with this in any way, I appreciate it if you would subscribe to me. If you already have, I thank you.